name is Madeline Huff, and I am the Assistant Director of Occupancy Management and Conference Services here at Drexel University. And then I will let Melissa go ahead and introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Melissa DiPreta-Behan. I'm the Senior Executive Director for Student Life. And part of what I oversee is residence life, student conduct, and also fraternity and sorority life.
Great. So we are here to speak with you all this afternoon or this morning or this late afternoon, evening, in regards to your housing and residence life options for your first year at Drexel. So this first slide, just kind of going over what we are going to be discussing. And then if I can get this to, perfect. So just a little overview of housing and residence life. We are incredibly excited to welcome you all to Drexel this fall. Welcome, new Dragons. We're always excited. So our Drexel residence halls, they are a great living environment that complements not only the students' professional, educational, and personal growth, but it also allows the student to develop within the Drexel community as well as the Philadelphia community in the area. So it's really good to engage students in an already vibrant campus spirit that we have on our urban campus. All right, and I'll let Melissa speak a little bit more to residence life.
Sure. So we have a lot of support from the residence life team within the residential community on Drexel's campus. We have some live-in staff members who are all master's level professionals who live in the halls. They offer support through mentorship, counseling, and they also support our crisis management system. So we've got folks on call in case anything comes up at any time of day or night. We're ready to respond. And, you know, our main mission really is to create community in the residence halls. And so we work with our professional staff. We also have a large number of student staff, our resident assistants or RAs, who plan programs, sponsor events, and really partner also with our academic units on campus to bring in some of that academic support as well. And really just getting students to get to know one another socially and hopefully mediating any roommate issues that come up along the way.
Great, thank you. So moving along here, we are going to discuss a little bit about the housing application process. So our housing application process includes 3 steps. So for those of you who have already completed your housing application, congratulations, you are done with step 1. For those of you who might have just paid your matriculation deposit to Drexel, first step is going to be to complete your housing application. So the housing application became available in mid-March. So before you can actually access your housing application, you will be required to pay a $200 housing deposit. So for those of you who maybe are still on the fence on whether or not you would like to attend Drexel, whenever you pay your matriculation fee, you will be given 2 options. So option 1, to pay either the $300 or option 2, to pay $500. I would encourage you just to pay the $500 because it goes ahead and gets your $200 housing deposit out of the way. So kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Second step is going to be the roommate matching step. So this will become available at 10 a.m. Monday, June 1st, Eastern Standard Time. And then step 3 is going to be the room self-selection process, which later on during our presentation, we will kind of dive more into these steps. Alrighty, so step 1, again, as I previously stated, it is already open. You will complete this through your Drexel One portal. If you are unsure of what your Drexel One portal is, it is going to be kind of your student hub account at Drexel. So this is where you will access your housing and dining portal. This is where you will be able to access your finances. This will also be where you are able to add dining dollars, see what your checklist is in regards to maybe next steps, just kind of your student hub. All things that you can access will be through your Drexel One portal. So you'll definitely want to get that set up and pick up your accounts as soon as you're matriculated. So when you complete your housing application, we do have a May 15th housing priority deadline. So students who are able to complete and successfully submit their housing application with us by that period will be able to participate in our room self-selection process. So step 2 is going to be roommate matching. So roommate matching will go from June 1st to June 19th. So whenever you are able to log into your housing application and roommate match, you will have several options to search for roommates. So one, whenever you complete your housing application, you will be required to complete a living style questionnaire. This living style questionnaire will ask you things such as, do you go to bed early? Do you go to bed late? Do you like it loud? Do you like it quiet? Do you clean daily, weekly, or not at all? So whenever you log in, you can actually search by your living style questionnaire, and you'll be able to see your percentage matched with students. Other ways that you can roommate match is you can actually search for an individual student using their user ID and their last name. So in regards to searching for roommates, some of you who have already matriculated in, you may have already been added to your class Facebook page. So I know a lot of students will use that to start communicating with your fellow dragons and meeting roommates that way. So once the roommate portal does open, you guys will want to make sure to log in and confirm a roommate group. And then as well, Drexel, we do have something called Living Learning Communities, or LLCs is what we like to call them, just for a shorthand. Students who participate in an LLC will only be able to roommate match with other students in that LLC. All right, then finally, the room self-selection process. So this will happen from June 15th to June 19th. And the room self-selection process, it is very unique to Drexel. And what we do is we actually give the power back to the students to self-select your room rather than our office administratively assigning you. So say whenever you go into the room self-selection process, you would be able to say, I want bed space 2 in room 802 on the 8th floor of Towers Hall. We really like to give this power back to the students so that way you can have a say in what your living arrangements are. So self-selection, it is optional. And like I said, if y'all don't participate in self-selection or if you are unable to, then our office will administratively assign you when self-selection is over. Also with self-selection, how we designate different time slots for students to participate is a lottery system. So some of you may get a lottery ticket for 10 a.m. on June 15th, and others may get lottery tickets for 2 p.m. on June 17th. So it's really important that whenever you are wanting to participate in room self-selection, that you speak with your roommates in your roommate group. So if a student in your roommate group, say that you got a time ticket for June 18th, but you have a roommate that got a time ticket on June 15th. So your roommate who got the time ticket for June 15th, if you guys have a confirmed roommate group, they will actually be able to self-select housing on behalf of all of you in the roommate group. So it's definitely beneficial in regards to that, making sure that you have your roommate groups and that you guys are really communicating back and forth to each other. All right, so next we're going to go through a couple of housing options that we do offer to our first year students. So Living Learning Communities, or LLCs, I touched on this a little bit earlier in regards to roommate matching, but LLCs are available for certain colleges and schools and programs that Drexel offers. So I'm just going to go through the list that we have on this PowerPoint presentation. So we have a Living Learning Community for Biomedical Engineering, for Civic Engagement, the College of Computing and Informatics, so CCI, College of Nursing and Health Professions, Engineering, First Year Exploratory Studies, the Honors Program, Liberty Scholars, LeBeau Business Program, as well as ROTC and Westfall. So these academic programs are available to all students in these programs. The way that a student is going to apply for an LLC is actually within their housing application. So we have a Living Learning Community step. If you are interested in any of these LLCs, you will be sure to mark it on that step, which will then prompt you to answer 2 LLC essay questions. So the first LLC essay question is just going to ask you why you're interested in the LLC, and the second is going to ask you kind of what activities would you like to see or gain from the LLC, and kind of being placed among other students who also opt into these living learning communities. So with the living learning communities, we do partner with different advisors of these programs to do different activities, so social, academic, and also service-based programs within your community. So it's really easy with these LLCs to form study groups, since you will be living amongst other students who have either the same interest or the same major as yourself. Again, if you do participate in an LLC and say that you have a friend that you want to live with that is not a part of that LLC, you guys will not be able to room together. And then on our website, each LLC has a designated residence hall that they are assigned to. So you will be able to see what hall, if you are approved to participate in an LLC, that you will be assigned. And then our second housing option that we provide to students is gender inclusive housing. So we are really proud to offer this type of housing opportunity to students. It's definitely a welcoming and inclusive experience to all of our student body. So specifically, what is GIH? Essentially, it is a roommate assignment program that does not use gender-based identification as selection criteria. So students could be placed with an individual in a room and share internal and external bathrooms that is not dependent on biological sex, gender expression, gender identity, or sexual orientation. So GIH is optional, and students who would like to participate in this opportunity have to explicitly state that in their housing application. As well, in your housing application, if you're still a little weary on what gender inclusive housing is, we do have a video that further explains what gender inclusive housing is that you can watch. Alrighty, perfect. So at Drexel, we do have something called the 2-year residency program. So for first-year students, you all are required to live in a Drexel residence hall, or you can commute from a university-listed parent or guardian's address that is within a 10-mile radius of Drexel University. So during your second year, you have a few other options. So you'll be able to commute if you're within that 10-mile radius. You can live on campus. If you decide to join a Greek organization your first year, you are welcome to live in your Greek house with invitation from your chapter leadership. And then finally, we do have affiliated properties that students would be able to live in. But for your first year, you all can live in the following residence halls. So Bentley Hall, Canaris, Millennium, Myers, North, Race, Towers, and Van R. So each of these residence halls, they are a different style. So we have 3 different residence hall styles at Drexel. So we have a traditional style residence hall, which is going to be your standard double occupancy room where you will share communal bathrooms with the rest of the residents on your floor. Then we have a hybrid style option, which is still your standard double occupancy room, but the bathrooms that you share among your floor are a little bit more private. So for example, in Millennium Hall, that is going to be one of our hybrid styles. The shower stalls and the toilets are in their own individual rooms with a lockable door behind the student rather than just a stall type functionality. And then we have suite style. So suite style is going to be either a 2 or 3 bedroom suite where you will share another room with an individual, but you will share a common area, a kitchenette, and a bathroom with either 3 to 5 other students, depending on if you were placed in a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom suite. So just for y'all's reference, Bentley Hall and Millennium Hall are going to be our hybrid styles. Canaris Hall, North, Race, and Van R are going to be our suite styles. And then Towers Hall and Myers Hall are going to be our communal residence halls, or our traditional style, my apologies. Alrighty, so just to go back through, I know we're spitting a lot of information at y'all right now. So step 1 is complete your housing application, which includes paying the $200 housing deposit to access it. Step 2 is going to be roommate matching, which opens at 10 a.m. on Monday, June 1st. And it'll go through June 19th. I believe that's a Friday. And then the room self-selection process will go through June 15th through June 19th. So all information in regards to your housing application, roommate matching, and room self-selection will be sent to your Drexel email address. So for any of y'all that have already matriculated or plan on matriculating, one of the most important steps I would say is going ahead and setting up your Drexel email and start checking that probably daily or probably weekly just for the time being. And then closer to May and June and towards your arrival come September, it's really important to start checking that. As our office and other offices on campus will start using that to communicate to you all with new housing options. Alrighty, and then what I'm going to do now is just kind of give you guys an overview of our housing application, or our housing website. So just to go over our housing website really quickly, our website is just drexel.edu/housing. It may seem really crazy when you first come to it, when you see all of these different tabs on the left-hand side. We try to make it as user-friendly as possible. So for our first-year students, if you click on this tab, this is going to kind of give you your first-year housing overview. So what it's going to do is talk about our residential communities, talk to you about the 2-year residency program. It's going to go over all of your residence halls, and if you click these hyperlinks, it will actually take you to the website with the residence hall, so that way you can kind of read more information about that, review videos and pictures of what the residence hall looks like, as well as see floor plans. So you can see here, as well as we have each step of the housing application also listed. Next, if you want to go to how to apply, this is going to contain all information on how to submit your $200 housing deposit, as well as it's going to go through the housing application process. So you can see here that there is a video that will walk you through the whole application process. So feel free to watch that. We also have a PDF guide if you don't want to watch the whole video. And then you can see down here that we also have select your roommates as well as the room self-selection guide. So I would say visit our website around mid-May, and we will have a roommate selection video showing you all the different types that you can search, different ways that you can search for roommates and or form a roommate group in case you guys already have your roommate picked out. As well, we will have an updated self-selection video here in mid-May, so that way you guys can review how you will self-select your housing assignment. And then for all of you, which I'm sure since we didn't discuss this in the video, especially you parents who may be joining us today are wondering, what is the cost of housing? So what I'm going to do is under residence hall options on our website, it is going to list every single residence hall that we have operational here at Drexel. So students, what I would encourage you all to do is go through and select the residence hall that you want to learn more about. So it's going to show you an image of what the hall is. It'll go through different features and amenities that are included in the room, as well as it'll kind of give you interior renderings for Bentley, as well as floor plans, depending on the residence hall you're looking at. And then for all of you who are wondering what our rates are, under residence hall options, we do have all of our undergraduate housing rates listed. So for the 2021 academic year, all of our prices are based on the type of residence hall type. So traditional is going to be our cheapest option, and it's going to be $3,180 per quarter. Then hybrid is going to be our second most expensive, and it's going to be $3,325, whereas our suite style residence halls are going to be $3,575 per quarter. So all of this information can be found on our website. I would really encourage you all before making your housing selections during room self-selection to come and review the rates and what different amenities and features are provided in each of our residence halls. And then for those of you who wanted to learn more about gender inclusive housing, we have a gender inclusive housing tab on our website. And then if we go back to first year housing options or first year students, you can see here that we will have a tab called first year student options. If you click on that, that is going to take you to our living learning communities page. So here you can learn a little bit more about living learning communities by watching this video. You can see the different LLCs that we do offer for the 2021 academic year. And then if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of this page, you will see all of the living learning communities listed, as well as the location that they will be placed for the 2021 academic year. So, but if any of y'all review our website or after this webinar have any additional questions that you can't find anywhere, what you can do is you can actually reach out to us at, once I get back to the slideshow, via email at housing@drexel.edu. At this time, email is going to be the best way to get in touch with our office since we are currently working remotely. But once we're back in the office, our phone number is listed on our website if you would like to give us a call then. But that's it for, yeah, there you go. Kate, take it away.
Thanks so much, Maddie. Well, you're definitely going to be speaking again because we have lots of questions, but we do have a number of campus partners here with us. In addition to Maddie and Melissa, we have Sarah and Chenille from Dining as well. So I'm going to go through the group chat, ask the questions in case folks haven't seen them. I know that our current and prospective students in the chat have been really helpful with trying to answer some of the questions for their partners and their classmates. But I think it's beneficial to answer them overall if we have time, which looks like we do. The first question are which residence halls are for freshmen? And does the cost differ based on which residence hall they choose? And how many can students choose on their housing application?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have lots of residence halls for our first year students. I believe that we have a total of 8. I can go back to our presentation and kind of list those residence halls that are available to students. Sorry, y'all, let me try to find that slide. Alrighty, perfect. So these are the residence halls that we do have available to students, since this decided not to start here. So we have Bentley Hall, Canaris, Millennium Myers, North, Race Towers, and Van R. We have one that is not listed here, and that is going to be Stiles Hall, which is for our upperclassmen and our graduate students. So for these residence halls, there are different price points. So our traditional style housing is going to be our cheapest rate, while our hybrid style is going to be our second most expensive, and then our suite style residence halls are going to be the most expensive. And then whenever you are completing your housing application, you are required to list a minimum of 5 housing preferences, but you can list up to 10.
Awesome, thank you. Is there a residence hall that mostly consists of African-American students?
Melissa, do you want to take that?
Sure. So we do not use any sort of demographic information in that regard when it comes to assigning residence halls. And we currently don't have any living learning communities that are related to folks' ethnicity, religion, or any kind of background. Our LLCs are mostly college affiliated. So, you know, there was Westfall and LeBeau has a couple. ROTC is one that's more of an interest area. But right now, we don't have any that are related to anything other than academic affiliation or interest.
Thank you. This is probably a question for Maddie more than Melissa. Are roommates and suite mates randomly assigned, or do students go on and find a roommate online? I know we touched a little bit about this, but going through as many questions as I can.
Yeah, absolutely. So for roommates, it really depends. So if you decide not to confirm a roommate and you just kind of want to do random and you go ahead and self-select one bed space during the room self-selection process, then another roommate can select that one bed space with you, or our office will assign a random student based on your percentage matched on your living style questionnaire. Another way is if say you had a roommate group of 3 people, but you want a 4-person suite, what our office will do is if that suite is still open or that bed space is still open after the room self-selection process, we will again assign students who chose to opt out of room self-selection to those vacancies based on your percentage matched in the living style questionnaire.
Thank you. I think that if we can just touch again on where students are supposed to go to fill out their housing application, there are a couple of questions about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you all matriculate into Drexel, you should receive information from Drexel's information and technology department in regards to picking up your account or your various accounts at Drexel. So one of the accounts that you will be able to pick up is going to be called your Drexel One portal. So it is like your student hub for all information. You'll be able to find your housing and dining portal. You will find your finances. You will be able to update your personal information that is on record with Drexel. So Drexel One, there is going to be a campus and community tab that you will select, and then there will be a housing and dining link. So that is how you will access the housing and dining portal.
Awesome, thank you. We answered this already. Can honors students that are not in the honors living learning community still live in Bentley Hall if they so choose? And how difficult is it to get a room in Bentley Hall?
Yeah, absolutely. So first priority is in Bentley is going to go to our students who are participating in the honors LLC. So after all of those students have been assigned, if we do have any available bed spaces or available rooms, those will be given to students during the room self-selection process. So during that, it's really kind of dependent on what students want Bentley in regards to how hard it is to get assigned there and based on your time ticket that you're going to get for self-selection. I would say that you've probably got a 50-50 chance of getting in. It's really just dependent on what our first year students would like in regards to a residence hall, in regards to your likelihood of getting your specific preference during room self-selection.
Awesome, thank you. When students are applying for housing, do they have to finish the application all the way through, or can they save it and start back up at a later time?
Yeah, absolutely. You are not required to complete your housing application in one sitting. You are more than welcome to maybe complete steps 1 through 3. Say you have to go to a meeting or you're just, I want to get outside, I want to do it later. You're more than welcome to do that if it's a nice day. One thing that I will mention is that certain steps of your housing application are only one-time use. So if you are applying to the living learning communities, whenever you fill out your essay questions, if you put, I'll come back and answer these questions, or I don't know, that's only a one-time use page, so you actually won't be able to go back and edit those questions. So it's really important that if you are completing your housing application and you want to stop at a step, just to make sure to read through the whole page to make sure that you're not just kind of going through and you can't go back and edit it. But say you do make an error like that, just email us at housing@drexel.edu and either myself or one of my colleagues will reset that page for you and get you back on the road.
Awesome, thank you. Do you get a higher priority if you submit your housing application before May 15th?
Yes, so students who do complete their housing application by May 15th, they are going to get the lottery ticket for room self-selection. So I'm going to say it is randomly generated, your time ticket, but if you submit it before our priority period, you are more likely, there's a greater chance that you'll get an earlier time slot than a later time slot. But again, these are randomly generated.
Wonderful. If a student is in an LLC, do they live only with those? The student is in an LLC. Does that student live only with those LLC folks on the same floor?
Yes, ma'am. So if a student is living in an LLC, you will only be living amongst other students in the floor in the building, as well as your roommate with other participants and members of that LLC. So we do our best. Most of our LLCs are assigned to Myers Hall. So Myers Hall is only 3 stories high, but it's a very long building. So you may be on the same floor as Westfall and the Engineering LLC, but the rooms that you guys are living in will be next door to each other and within the same community on that floor.
Wonderful. This is a very timely question, and I'm sure it's on a lot of folks' mind at the moment. If COVID-19 forces Drexel to keep its campus closed throughout the fall term, what will happen to housing for students who are out of state or out of country?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we are still planning our fall operations regularly, but we are keeping a close kind of look on all local, state, and federal guidelines in regards to COVID-19. So if anything were to change with students' housing for the fall, students would be notified via their Drexel email address. So as I stated earlier, it is really important that all students are checking their Drexel email addresses kind of weekly and really picking up those students' accounts. As well, while we are regulating and kind of making sure and keeping up to date with COVID-19, I do want to ensure our students and parents that our main concern is the community's safety of Drexel University. So any kind of calls or decisions that are made for fall housing, we do have the students' body and the Drexel's community's safety in mind.
Thank you. Can we explain a little bit of what the difference is between LLC and non-LLC?
Yeah, absolutely. So living learning communities, it is a type of style housing option that we offer to students in different colleges, schools, or programs where you are able to live amongst other students that are either in the same college as you, or maybe even just have similar interests. Or one example is with ROTC. So students who don't participate in an LLC, they will just be able to live in any of our other residence halls that aren't predominantly LLCs and live amongst other students who just wanted to live amongst the general population of our residential students. So they will have various programs, which if Melissa wants, she can touch base, that are going to build community within their residence halls. Whereas the LLCs, their programs are going to be more geared towards their actual academic experience at Drexel. So it's going to have to do more with their majors and their colleges.
Awesome. And I think this one is kind of important for everyone as well. The student is asking, do they have to do a roommate match even if they already know who they're rooming with? I think that might be more of a question about the lifestyle questionnaire as opposed to the roommate match physically.
Yes, so all students have to fill out the living style questionnaire on your housing application, regardless of your roommate preference. As well, if you do have a roommate preference, it is required that you all form a roommate group on the roommate matching step. So even though you guys maybe knew each other from back home and you're like, oh, we're gonna room together, it is incredibly important for you all to go into the roommate matching step of your housing application anyways and go ahead and form that roommate group. Because if you guys don't form that roommate group, then our office isn't going to know that you guys would like to be assigned a space together.
Awesome. Thank you, Maddie. I'm actually going to turn it over to Sarah for a hot second. The wind is blowing really poorly around my house, so I have to go grab my front door that's slamming. So Sarah is going to follow up with the next question.
Sounds great.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Olson. I'm the Director of Dining and Auxiliary Services within the Business Services area at Drexel. And I'm going to try to keep this party moving. Okay, so I was accepted into a College of Computing and Informatics learning community and would like to be a part of that. But I'm first year exploratory study, what happened. So I think they're trying to understand if they're accepted into maybe the Computing and Informatics College, you know, how does that connectivity work with the LLC that might accompany it?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are accepted to one of our LLCs, we actually work and we partner with an advisor within the College of Computing and Informatics that will directly work with students in the LLC to do different programs, social, academic, and also service-oriented, throughout your experience at Drexel. So the LLC, they will do different lectures for you all. They will help you form study groups and just kind of give you a basis and already have you started in a community prior to your arrival at Drexel. So you'll still know new students that are already in your college, so it's easier to form study groups and just kind of already have that support system when you arrive to Drexel and when you're kind of getting acclimated from home to college. I think that answered that, or maybe
I think
not.
so. I think the one piece I might have, like missed touching on was if they're in an exploratory studies program, can they be a part of, I believe that's not centralized in one college. Can they be in any of those other living and learning communities?
To my knowledge, yes. So as long as they,
I think that was a shaking head yes, Melissa too. So
yes.
Yeah, so they can, students can only live in one LLC, right? Just functionally, they're going to be on different floors, so you can only be at one place at one time. But many of the LLCs do have programming and do reach out to their students to participate, even if they're not living there. Although I do think that some of them may have limitations. I know that there are some that offer like spring break study trips and things like that that may be limited to the folks that specifically live there. But in terms of some of the academic support and the outreach and resources provided, I think those are typically open to whoever would like to participate.
great. A student had a question. I think this is quick. How do you know if you're accepted into an LLC? You know, that is all a part of, correct me if I'm wrong, Maddie, like when they get accepted and their application is processed, correct? They'll know that, they'll get a whole email, all that good stuff, correct?
Yes, so whenever you apply to an LLC, once you complete those LLC questions in your housing application, you will actually be taken to kind of an LLC application status page. So if you don't have your Drexel email account set up yet, or if you're having issues accessing that, so you're unable to see the email that was sent letting you know that you were approved or if you were waitlisted, you can always refer back to your housing application on that status page for your LLC, and it will show you and it'll let you know if you're pending, if you were confirmed, or if you were waitlisted.
Thank you for your help, Sarah. I rescued my screen door, so thanks for your patience there, friends. Do students have to clean suite-style residence halls, or is there a cleaning service that can do that?
Excellent question. We get this a lot. We firmly believe that students are learning not only whatever's offered in their academic program, but also some life skills while they're with us. And so folks do have to clean their own suites. We do have housekeeping that cleans the common areas. So in the traditional style halls, those showers and bathroom stalls are definitely cleaned very regularly. And in all of the residence halls, all of the lobbies and common areas are cleaned very regularly. But the rooms themselves or the suites themselves, that is the responsibility of the students living there.
Wonderful, thank you. Melissa, this might be a question for you. It's in regards to things that are accepted on campus. There's nothing online that specifies whether or not live plants are permitted in the residence halls. What are live plants allowed?
Sure, yes, absolutely. Definitely good to make the room a little bit homier. I believe the exception to that, and I do think that this is listed in the prohibited items, are large pine trees or Christmas trees. Those are not allowed, and that's really a fire hazard issue. Those tend to get very dry and so are very apt to light up in flames, which we do not want in a community setting. So, but certainly, like, you know, lots of folks have bamboo and ivy, and succulents are really popular right now, terrariums. So yeah, bring your plants if that's what's exciting for you.
Thank you. This is a very timely question. This student is wondering why Kelly Hall wasn't in the presentation, but it is listed on the website as an option.
Sure. So Kelly Hall is currently a first-year residence hall, but as we're forecasting to next year, we're anticipating that we're going to be able to do some repairs and some projects in that hall that will make it so that folks probably won't want to live there with, you know, some construction happening. So we are taking it offline at this point in our planning and looking at our other options for our first-year residence halls.
Awesome. Melissa, this cycles back to the cleaning question as well. The students want to know if they're allowed to have external cleaning services come in should they choose to pay for someone to come in to clean for them.
Also a good question. Unfortunately, that's not something that we allow. We do try to limit our guests into the residence halls and the services that we offer. We do work with different unions and organizations to provide services for our residence halls. And again, we really want our students to be gaining those life skills and cleaning up their own personal private spaces.
Thank you. Maddie, is there a location that students can look at photos from inside of the different residence halls? The student is saying that some of the halls on the site have photos, but some do not.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are slowly but surely getting images added to our housing website. So we do apologize if some halls do not have the photos added yet. Our communications and marketing team is working very diligently to get all of those photos updated. So I would just give them probably a few more weeks to get those updated, but we should have images of all of our residence halls listed on our website underneath the residence hall options.
Awesome. And this is actually a really good question. Students are wondering what it looks like getting a time ticket and how it works utilizing your time ticket.
Yeah, absolutely. So time tickets are given to students via their Drexel email address. So you will receive an email from our housing email, which is just housing@drexel.edu. So again, highly encourage you to go ahead and pick up your Drexel email address. Your time tickets will be emailed to you towards the beginning of June from our office. And time tickets, they are going to pretty much look like it's going to tell you at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can log back into your housing portal on Monday, June 15th and go ahead and self-select your housing. When we send out the time tickets, we will also include the web link to the room self-selection video guide and also the PowerPoint. So that way you all can kind of walk through that process and see how to self-select your room, how to self-select rooms for yourself and your confirmed roommates, and also just other information that you may need to know about that process. But for self-selection, everything will be in Eastern Standard Time. So if you are on the West Coast, you may need to wake up a few hours earlier if you get an earlier time ticket. Kate, I believe you're muted.
Thank you. Yes, I was. Melissa, this question is for you. When are students eligible to become resident assistants?
Yeah, so we typically open our resident assistant application in January, in December or January each year for the following year. So students are allowed to become resident assistants once they are sophomores. So we want our students to get the Drexel experience and get used to the routine and their own schedules before they commit to that position. So that's why we've designed that timeline that way, but we definitely do a ton of marketing. So there will be no secrets about our application process come December and January of this upcoming year.
Thank you. Sarah and Chanel, we have a couple of questions about the dining plan. So I'm going to ask one or both of you to hop in here. The first question is, how do you choose a dining plan?
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you were going into another one, so I'm like waiting.
The second question is, does the dining plan have enough options for students who might have a specific dietary restriction, if they're vegetarian, if they're vegan, gluten-free, etc.?
Sure. So to the first piece of, which I believe was simply just like, how does the dining application process work, correct? So it's in somewhat of conjunction physically, electronically, virtually, with the housing application. They're all kind of housed in the exact same spot. The pages are just different and will be shown at different times and accessible at different times. Our dining application will open on June 1st. So you'll go in the exact same way that Maddie has described about how you would get into the housing application, Drexel One portal, campus and communities tab, etc. And then that new piece of the application for dining will be available starting June 1st. You need to select which of the 3 plans you're looking for. There's 3 different options. The list and everything will become available in the next few weeks on websites, etc., via email to y'all. You want to select one of those 3 plans before the 22nd of June. If not, you will be auto put into one of the plans just as a placeholder to ensure everyone has a plan to the start of their term. But you can go in and change that through the application process at any time up until actually the 2nd week of fall term. So that's the first question. I think that answered that fully. And then the second one about the dining experiences, Chanel, I will kind of let you take that one so you can jump in, and then I'll fill in any gaps.
Sure. So the question was about vegetarian options at the dining locations.
Vegetarian options or dietary restrictions, etc.
Oh yeah, so students will find different options at each location. And not only just that, say if there's something that a student can find, they have the ability, they can speak to a manager who is available at that location to talk about their needs. And we also have a on-campus dietitian who can assist students with their needs as well. She's good at making calls, scheduling appointments, and also making sure that the Chef Tom Ramsey is involved in these decisions, so students have the needs their needs are being met.
I think the only thing, Chanel covered most of it. The only thing I would add is that, there is on-campus dish, which is our Drexel Dining website portal, which can be found if you go on drexel.edu and search campus dining. There's a link right to it. It's called Drexel Campus Dish. And that will also, it has different elements on that portal that will kind of talk you through some other allergy aspects. You can, again, contact the dietitian that Chanel referenced right via that page. And other allergy, nutrition aspects are all listed and spelled out, even updated on a regular basis about what's being offered throughout the dining halls.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah and Chanel. So this question is like sort of twofold. Maddie, perhaps you might want to take it. A, are all first-year students required to live on campus? And B, if you change your mind for a housing deposit, if you change your mind as to where you would like to live on campus, can you get a refund on the housing deposit and live somewhere outside of campus?
Yeah. So first year students, you have 2 housing options. So 1, you can live in a Drexel residence hall, or 2, if you have a university listed parent or guardian within a 10-mile radius of Drexel, you are welcome to commute from their residence with them. So if you are an incoming student, before you arrive to Drexel, if you would like to change your status from a residential student to a commuter student, you will actually need to work with your admissions counselor. So your admissions counselor will be able to walk you through next steps and will have you complete any documentation that they need to change your status over. And then say that you arrive in fall, you decide, hey, I don't want to live on campus anymore and I want to start commuting. You would then go through the Housing and Residence Life Office. So we do have an exemption process to where you would have to complete something that we call a residency verification form, just so we can verify that the address you wish to commute from is within our 10-mile radius, and it is with a university listed parent or guardian. So after you arrive to Drexel, if you are living on campus and then decide to commute, and you decide that you're going to cancel your housing application, you will actually forfeit your $200 housing deposit. So you will not be able to receive that back once you have arrived to campus.
Thank you. Melissa, you might be able to touch on this question. How far away are the residence halls in comparison to academic buildings?
Sure. So I would have to pull up a Google map in order to give you mileage or you know, a more exact thing, but really it's a couple of blocks. It's pretty easily walkable. You know, and many of our students have bikes on campus that they, you know, store in our bike rooms or lock up outside to get around as well. So I think our campus is pretty, you know, tight in terms of walkability.
Thank you. And Melissa, after a winter break, for example, do students come back to the same residence hall room?
Typically, yes. If they, you know, throughout the year, we have points in time where we offer students the option to change rooms if we have space available. And so if for whatever reason they are wanting to change rooms, they would work with their resident director and or my colleagues in occupancy to facilitate that. So it's possible if they wanted to change rooms that they might be able to if we have availability. But we typically, once students are assigned, we don't move them unless there's a true need.
Thank you. This is a really interesting question, another timely one. Is there an option to stay in the residence halls for international students or out-of-state students if they have nowhere else to stay, even if the fall quarter goes remote in regard to COVID-19?
Sure. So, I mean, Maddie, I don't know if you want to speak to this as well, but really I'm going to defer back to Maddie's comments earlier. You know, Drexel is working really closely with the city of Philadelphia, looking at that, you know, local, state, and federal guidance in terms of what our plan for the fall is. And so we will be communicating with students as those things are decided and as things change as we get closer to the fall. So keep an eye on your Drexel email as we provide updates.
And Melissa, this is another question for you. Are bed risers allowed in any residence hall?
Nope. That's it. That's all I have on that one. No.
That was the easiest question we had today. Okay, I know we have a number of questions left in just a few minutes, so I'm going to try to go through the chat and see what is most applicable to all folks. So here's a great question. If a student did not sign up for gender inclusive housing, but their roommates did, can that student still room with their chosen roommate?
Great question. So students have to have the same living preferences. So if you opted out of gender inclusive housing, but the rest of your roommates opted into gender inclusive housing, you would not be able to roommate match or live with them. So all students are going to have the same housing preferences, whether or not that is gender inclusive housing or if that is participation in a living learning community.
Thank you, Maddie.
Mm-hmm.
Melissa, another question for you. Are pets, including fish, allowed in any residence hall building?
So we do allow fish, but there's a limit on the tank. I believe it's a 10-gallon tank, but please check our website before quoting me on that. Outside of that, no, there are no pets involved. But if there's a need for a service or an emotional support or assistance animal, our Office of Disability Resources can talk through what that process looks like. And pets are very different from an assistance animal or a service animal. Just wanting to be clear on that.
In regards to facilities in the residence halls, does the Wi-Fi work well in the residence halls? Are there Ethernet ports, or is there any way to set up their own personal Wi-Fi router in the residence halls?
Yeah, so the Wi-Fi does work great all across campus, and they continue to make improvements each year, specifically in our residence halls. At this point, I don't believe we have any active Ethernet ports. I think we've gone totally wireless across campus.
Great. And in the residence halls, this is a really a good question in regards to allergies. Are there any designated laundry, washing machines and dryers for folks that have allergies to perfumes and dyes for other students who may be using a soap that has a perfume in it?
Sure. So there are not designated machines for that specific purpose. However, if there is a need for that due to an allergy or other issue, again, I would refer you to the Office of Disability Resources, who can talk to you about the steps to receive an accommodation, which may include a designated machine or be able to point to resources, perhaps an outside laundry service that might be more appropriate if that's something that's really needed for you.
Thank you. Another question about what is allowed and what isn't allowed. Since residence halls like Van R have a full stove and oven in the suite, are students allowed to bring their own small appliances like air fryers or toasters?
Sure. So across the board, kitchen appliances are allowed in kitchens. So in Van R, there's a kitchenette, which means that, you know, things like toasters are allowed in the kitchenette. But in a suite style residence hall, for example, there are kitchens on most floors. And so the toaster, you shouldn't be using your toaster in your bedroom. You should be bringing it down to the kitchen to use that toaster. And again, that's really for fire safety, which we're really, really conscious of when you have, you know, so many folks living in such, you know, so closely together. We want to be making sure that everybody is as safe as possible. And so that's why we limit those appliances to use in the kitchens only.
Thank you. This is a general note for anyone that's having issues if they collected their Drexel accounts already and they can't log in. You should send an email to it@drexel.edu and they can assist you with collecting those accounts. This is a question for Sarah and Chanel. Do first-year students have to purchase meal plans or is it optional?
Yeah, so any first year student in residence, again, I think Maddie already went over kind of that commuter aspect and for those, what is mandatory, second year housing, et cetera. But any first year student in mandatory housing will be required to purchase one of those 3 first year dining plans.
Thank you. And in regards to, we have a lot of questions coming in about specific rooms. Do all rooms have an air conditioner? And along those same lines, can students individually control room temperature? And do windows open in the residence halls?
So, and Maddie, feel free to jump in. That really varies from hall to hall. I will say for the windows all open, but they don't open really wide or tall. Again, for safety reasons, they sort of open enough to let some air in, which is good. And then in terms of the temperature control, that does vary hall by hall. There are some halls that have individual controls and others that have controls within the suite, for example, or temperature controls for the whole building. Although I think Kelly might be the only one with a whole building control, and that is not currently an option for housing next year. So variable by hall in terms of individual bedroom or within the suite.
The only thing that I would add to that is when I was going over the housing website, whenever you guys are viewing your residence hall options, under the features and amenities listed under each residence hall, it will say whether or not it is central AC units or if it is individual suites or rooms. So you all can find that information there.
Awesome. This is a great question about moving into a Drexel residence hall that I think I can actually answer. Drexel offers a really wonderful program for students that are moving in on move-in day, where we provide move-in assistance. You don't have to physically lift any of your boxes. It's really awesome. We have a wonderful crew that will pick up your items and deliver them magically to your room. The question is, does Drexel provide move-in assistance beyond first year? The answer is no. Drexel owned and operated residence halls do not provide that crew style move-in service beyond your first year. That being said, our partners in American Campus Community, who offer some of our housing options for second year students, occasionally will offer a move-in service, but it is not provided by Drexel past your first year. All right, I think we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. All right, over the summer break for first year students, can students leave their items in their residence hall if they're international?
They cannot. We ask students to move out completely. If you're living with us for the summer, we'll provide another residence hall room for you that you can move right into. Otherwise, we have partnered with the same company that offers the move-in service to offer students options to store their items to ship their items. But we do, whatever option you choose, we do ask that you move out completely. You're not able to leave your items in the room over the summer.
And yes, to the student who just asked, as an out-of-state student, are you able to send boxes ahead? Yes, you can. That will be sent to you with the move-in packet information this summer. And finally, the last question for today, are students allowed to bring desktop computers to residence halls?
Absolutely, highly encouraged.
Wonderful. If we did not get to your question, I know that we didn't get to quite a few of them. It was wonderful to have so many questions to answer today. Please feel free to send us an email at housing@drexel.edu. Any of those more niche questions we can address there. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We have recorded all 3 of these sessions, so we're going to go through and hopefully put 1 or 2 of them on the website, perhaps all 3. I'd like to thank my colleagues who were able to present with us today. Maddie, Melissa, Sarah, and Chanel, thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and please keep an eye out for additional webinars that we will be hosting, specifically the family webinars, and one that is all about housing self-selection will be on May 27th, right before you actually select your housing. So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.